Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. My name is Reuben, joined here today with Aaron, and we are back to review Severance Season 2, Episode 8, Sweet Vitriol. And before we get into today's episode, I want to let you guys know that you can listen to this wherever you get your podcasts. And go check out our Patreon page. We actually have our Oscars recap going up this weekend, so if you're interested in hearing how we, or what we thought about the Oscars, go check that out. And, yeah. What else do I have to plug? Oh, social medias. Follow us at Nerd Soup, at Beau Soup, at Nerd Soup Monkey. Good place to follow us on our Instagram. You get updates for our release schedule. And next week, we will actually be beginning our Studio Ghibli Revisited series with the Castle of Cagliostro. So, a bit of whiplash here, reviewing Severance and then talking about a kid's movie that came out in 1979. So, if you're interested in watching along with us as we review all the Ghibli films, go ahead and check that out. And do we have any more scheduling updates? I don't know. Aaron, do you have anything planned? Aren't you filming a documentary? You're doing like a TED special, right?
Yeah, the with the bear.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, TED Talks, but it's just me and the bear.
I thought it was going to be about Ted Chow and Mad Men.
No, Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother. And how fucking boring and lame he is.
Oh, I thought it was Mr. Mosby in Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
No, Zach Levine.
Sure, right. No, I thought you were doing it on Adam Levine, the singer.
No, Adam Carolla. I can fucking go all day. Toyota Corolla, come on, keep it going.
Doing a little filler for the filler episode of Severance. Oh, no, come on, Beau, Reuben, I don't know who I am. It's not filler. No, I thought it was the first time Severance reminded me of why I struggle so much with television, because it's episodes like this. It feels like everything was leading up to the reveal at the end, and I'm very interested to hear what you thought about this episode, because in one hand, I like that the outside world for Cobell is as weird as she is. It kind of explains her behavior, her personality, and what happened to her hometown, that Lumen came, built this factory, then the factory is no longer there. I think she calls the town frail, that it's gotten much weaker. Everyone seems to be, not having a great time. You have drug addicts all over the place, addicted to ether. But I found the dialogue in this episode to be a bit strange. It was like they were doing Shakespeare, but Shakespeare written in an afternoon. I wonder if that's just intentional. I thought they could have eased up a bit, especially with Cobell's character, who I have missed in this season and I really liked in season 1, but I thought this could have been a chance for her to really let her hair down. And it felt like she was acting like that same character in the Lumen offices when she's trying to control the severed floor. I don't mind that because she runs a tight ship and she's trying to do this good cop, bad cop routine, and she wants to keep people afraid of her. But it's like she carried over that same character that she was playing, and I guess that's just who she actually is. So overall, for me, the episode, I don't know if it could have been an email, but I think somebody could have told me that Harmony Cobell created Severance, and I would have been like, oh, okay, ready for episode 9.
Right. I think as far as like an episode, when we kind of look back on it, it could be an important episode, insightful for some things that are going to happen in the future. But like when I clicked it and it said like 37-minute runtime, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I feel like they could have either interwoven this narrative with something else to supplement it, maybe some flashes of Mark and what he's going through while dealing with reintegration, or like dig deeper into it. If you're going to do a Harmony Cobell solo episode, let's get into it a little more. I feel like they left a lot on the table when showing us where she comes from and her upbringing. There was an opportunity there to delve deeper and kind of create this one-off episode, this kind of Harmony bottle episode, but really get into it and make something pretty special, where I feel like this was just, I don't want to say disappointing, but just didn't live up to the standard of what we've seen in recent weeks. And like I said, like the revelation couldn't be important, and we did get some insight to her life growing up, but not really, kind of vague, a lot of leaving the audience to kind of put pieces together, and we get the basic idea of her upbringing, but I think there was an opportunity to like really go into how she was manipulated as a young child and kind of created this cold person that we see today.
Yeah, the show has never struggled with setting the mood. So the slow approach for this episode to me was a bit strange. Your point about going deeper, that's something that I feel like the slow pacing makes it impossible to do because you're really trying to build this atmosphere and build this tension. But the entire show already has so much going on for it that you don't really need that. You don't need to build up to this moment. And I think when you, like, the last 2 episodes have been something different from your typical episode of Severance, where they're in the office and they're trying to figure things out, really opening up the world with the last 2 episodes. Episode 7, to me, maybe the best episode of the series. They did a great job at that. But because it felt different, going down below, seeing what's happening in the basement, yeah, it looks and feels like Severance, but it was so extreme and so radical that it was hard to really just keep your head while you were experiencing it. And then the flashbacks with Mark and Gemma were totally new to the world of Severance, just shooting on film, 16 millimeter, and the sunlight, and just the overall tone and feeling of the episode. But this one felt, you know, you're getting the outside world, but it's very much still Severance. So yeah, a lot of it is relying on the fact that, you know, she's going back to find these papers, and it's the woman's idea being co-opted by a man so that she can't get any of the credit. And learning more about growing up in a cult, her being told that looking for attention, your work is supposed to be for the greater good, meaning it's supposed to be for Keir and for this cult that you're supposed to worship. And then the characters that they introduce, like Hampton and Sissy. Sissy freaked me out. You know, there's nothing quite like an older member of a cult. It's like, damn, you're 70 years old and you still believe in this shit. And I think that's why Harmony is so conflicted, because her mother didn't. Her mother was the, you know, beatnik atheist when it comes to Keir. And this is something that a lot of people have been suspecting, that Cobell would turn on Lumen. I don't know if that's confirmed by this episode, but they're definitely taking steps in that direction. So yeah, it just, if I want it to be really harsh, it's an episode that feels a bit empty compared to previous episodes that were packed with so much. People will say, well, this is character development. Sure, but to me, it's some of the more weaker character development we've gotten this season. And I think when you compare it directly to episode 7, it really does pale in comparison, because you're doing similar things there, but you come out knowing so much more about Gemma, whereas I could have put the pieces together myself about Cobell. You know, it's more clear now. We have names, we have places, we have settings, but yeah, I know she's a weirdo.
Yeah, and I think there was an opportunity, like you said, to kind of, like with last week, familiar, but also something new. And I think they could have done that here with this new setting, with new characters, but it really wasn't as immersive or drawing as the last week's episode. And, you know, I mean, the dynamic between Cobell and Iran, I thought was pretty interesting. And I do think that was a great performance and kind of led to some of that tension towards the end of the episode. But yeah, I just wish they kind of went a little deeper, make it an hour runtime, really get into the weeds when it comes to this character. It could have been a great character study and further development for somebody that we've kind of only gotten one side of this whole time. And it could have been a great opportunity. And I think this is what they said in the after show, is that they wanted to kind of show how a character like Harmony can be the way she is. I think there's a better path to do that and further help sympathize this character with the audience in a way that leaves more of an impact.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they missed on when you talk about sympathy. I think a lot of people will watch this episode and their main takeaway will be, she created Severance. That's interesting. That's new. Also, she's still the same old weird character we knew from season 1. And my point about letting her put her hair down, the way that she was speaking and interacting with these characters, very similarly to how she spoke with the Lumen employees, Mark, Helly, talking down to them, the riddles and the Shakespearean dialogue. It could have been a nice moment for her to revert back to the person she was, or a semblance of the person she was, because we've seen it with Hampton, where Hampton feels a bit more normal, even though he has this addiction and he hates Lumen because of what they did to him and this town, but he feels more like a normal person, and Cobell never did throughout this episode. And I very much believe that was the intention, to ground her in a way where it's possible she can break from this cult, that she can break those shackles, she can turn on Lumen, she can help Mark, give up this information that she's been storing. I did panic a little bit when Sissy tried to burn the notebook. I was like, oh shit, no.
I knew she was going to try to do that. But like,
never fucking put your super secret notes by a fire.
They even, again, on the post-show interview, it was like they were trying to convey her disillusionment and why she would turn against Lumen, you know, bringing her back to this place, seeing what happened to her town, seeing what happened to the people. And I didn't really get that. There wasn't like this moment. And so I feel like a lot of it was, you know, you could put the pieces together, but usually with those show recaps, it's a supplement to the episode and it kind of goes hand in hand, where I feel like this is one of the times where they actually made some comments that were like, well, you kind of could have showed that more within the episode.
I think with what they're trying to accomplish in this episode, the audience needs to come away with the feeling of, if Cobell doesn't revolt against Lumen, she's totally lost. And because of what they did to her people, what they did to this town, what they did to these people, even possibly leading to the death of her mother. Maybe that's why she was bedridden and she's got this very strange obsession with her mother and the tube, and she's sucking on it. It's just so weird. Maybe there's a sense of guilt there because she still worked for the company. She was still loyal to them after what they did to her own family. A lot of good theories when it comes to Cobell and her mother, but you know, just wouldn't be surprising if she was also a victim to Lumen. It feels like they could have gone deeper into the destruction of a small town and how it destroys communities, how it destroys people on an individual level, because that's very relatable content, especially when you think of the pharmaceutical industry and all the lawsuits and the backlash that they've faced, and how people feel that they're responsible, but they haven't been held to account because of the influence that they have over governments and just the fact that they're billion-dollar corporations. You can just buy your way out of any accountability. So it feels, you know, if you're really going to focus on small town America, a decaying town with people that are broken, I need to come away from that experience feeling like I lived it. And I think they tried that with the approach, with the slow build up, but you're substituting real substance for these pretty shots, like her on the bed and her crying over her mother. Cool shot. I thought the way that they framed the bed, where, you know, she walks into the room and it's so intimidating. It's almost like you can feel her mother's presence in there, and that she's being haunted by someone who wanted her to break away from this cult. But that scene is like, I don't know. It's for a short episode, there was a lot of just lingering on Cobell.
I would have been pissed if I'm waiting for you outside and you decide to take a fucking full-on nap.
I wonder what she's definitely not in there napping, right? She's got to be looking, she's got to be doing stuff. I can't imagine that's what she would have me doing out here, burning gas, but oh, okay. It's freezing. All right, guys, before we get to the second half of this review, we want to shout out our sponsor for today's episode, Factor Meals. And right now you can visit factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box, plus free shipping. And let me be the first to tell you, Factor Meals is awesome. In fact, I enjoy Factor Meals so much that every time they send me a box of meals, I end up eating them before I can use them for B-roll footage on these spots. I swear, I always tell myself, Reuben, don't eat any of the meals or drink any of the delicious juices before you film. You have all these creative ideas for different shots and showcasing the meals and highlighting them, and I just can't help myself. But I only ate 2, which were both delicious. Unfortunately, I only took footage of the second meal, but they were both really good. Factor meals arrive fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active or busy lifestyle. Cooking is boring, messy, and it hurts your feet from standing for so long. But now with Factor, you can kick back and enjoy your meals with no preparation, feeling your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Factor meals can help you optimize your nutrition with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your specific goals with preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. And right now you can visit factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use promo code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box, plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off, plus free shipping on your first box.
Well, I like some of the ideas they've thrown out there, especially like the exploitation of these companies on small towns using their resources and leaving it gutted. And, the whole, I guess, Jay Megan, Thomas Edison type, taking credit for the ideas of his workers.
Right.
And, it further implements the themes of just how corporations exploit their workers and, going a little further to towns. I mean, I like the whole comment about how, she says something along the lines how Lumen destroyed this town, and her aunt says that this town would have been nothing without Lumen to begin with. So kind of digging into those ideas. But it was just, for me, at a certain point, like 25 minutes into a 36 minute episode, and you're like, all right, there's got to be more here. And I was by the end with the revelation when she has her notebook and seeing everything she's done for Lumen, and then seemingly deciding to help Mark. That got me a little excited, getting the dream team together. But yeah, it just seemed like there could have been either more or other. I don't know if what we saw justified a separate Harmony episode, which if you told me a couple weeks ago we were going to get, I would have been excited for.
Yeah, it very much, it kind of plays like an end credits, especially the final scene when she finally picks up the phone call from Devin. That was interesting, seeing how many times Devin does call her, because they never really confirm, or maybe they do in episode 7, that she did call her once. Because I thought when Mark woke up, Cobell was going to be in that living room with them. But yeah, she's calling her. She finally picks up. And that is fun. A bit of an Avengers Assemble moment there at the end, where put Mark on the phone, tell me everything. She doesn't seem to be faking it, that she is actually going to help them. But she's also a character that's so unpredictable, so it wouldn't be surprising if she does help them take a few steps forward and shivs them in the back. I think that totally could happen. It makes the audience believe that maybe she is turning a new leaf here, that she's going to rebel. So moving forward, that putting her on the side of the innies is something that if you told me back in season 1 eventually Cobell is going to help them, I would have been like, you're crazy. This woman's, she's a tyrant. But maybe it's they're pulling the old switcheroo where we see Milchek. He wants to be a good person. He wants to reform Lumen the way that they're treated. It doesn't work. And he realizes he needs to become that tyrant that Cobell was in season 1. And then she is the White Knight coming to help them. But also, she knows right away when Devin tells her about the reintegration that it was Ragabi. What's the relationship there? That's actually the biggest takeaway for me coming out of this episode. Because if Cobell is willing to help, it's as if Ragabi knew that there was a chance Cobell would help, but she doesn't want to see her regardless. That even if Cobell can help Mark successfully reintegrate, that's not something Ragabi is willing to do. And is it just because she's a Lumen soldier and she doesn't trust her? Or is there something more to that? So really peeling back the layers on their relationship, I think could be interesting moving forward.
Yeah, and if anybody knows the dangers of reintegration, it probably is Cobell. And what she says is is he dead yet? Kind of knowing the dangers of reintegration if not done properly. Yeah, I mean, Ragabi still remains a mystery in terms of like her real intentions and what kind of made her flip the switch to go against Lumen. So maybe we'll figure that out in the Ragabi solo episode next season. But with Cobell, it's still, because you kind of see the difference between her and her aunt, like how you kind of know that character, the older woman set in her ways, and there's really nothing you can do at this point in her life to show her anything different, because at this point it's just always been Lumen, subscribe to the ideas of the Egan family, and it's just a person that's completely bought in, and there's nothing you can do to change her mind. Whereas Harmony does, it seems like she does have that in her to go against Lumen, but when we finally do see her, I assume she'll be with Mark soon. It's always going to be in the back of our heads, like, what is her true intentions? Is she just trying to kind of manipulate Mark like she has for all these years, and going to kind of use that to leverage her way back into the good graces of Lumen? Or even try to take them down, but take them down for the better good, or take her down for personal gain, and she ends up on top while still implementing all of these things that we've seen them do to people in this world.
Oh, yeah. You automatically assume, learning this information, that she's going to help. You want her to help. She very much could just take back Lumen, expose them, and now she's sitting on top, and she's still conducting these experiments. She still wants to finish Cold Harbor. She could still very well be invested in the mission statement. And then, the use of ether It's a drug that brings you a sense of euphoria. Keir and his wife met at the ether mill because that's where they worked. And it feels like, whatever this company has been doing before the severance procedure, because that's modern, it seems like they really haven't changed their ways. It's just been updated based on the technology that's available. But that they were doing some shady, fucked up shit as well, even way back when. And that even, using the ether could be related to the severance procedure. And, the scientific name of ether sounding like Keir's brother's name, Dieter. So how the hell is all of that connected? I don't know. It could be as like two brothers just I wonder if, the drugs, hallucinations, that maybe that inspired some of the lore that Keir was coming up from, that Keir was coming up with during his times working in the mill to how he eventually started his cult. That was a bit heartbreaking when like I said, it's very relatable these days with the amount of people dealing with addiction or have had their communities or lives ruined by it. And when Cobell says, I haven't done this since I was 8 years old. So you're getting a window into how fucked up her life actually is. It's like some Robert Downey Jr. shit.
I don't even know what ether is. Looks fun.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks fun. Yeah, pass me that dirty ass towel.
Made Cobell lighten up a little,
Yeah, no, that was the first time that she's just kind of chilling.
Well, you also might have gotten a little insight into Miss Huang when Hampton says, it's like child fucking labor. So, I mean, we got the sense that they're indoctrinating these children from a young age into their cult and basically brainwashing them to buy in to the philosophies of the Egans and Lumen. But I wonder, it's funny to kind of, if that's what is happening, to kind of repurpose the child labor that we're familiar with in our history of like factories and crappy conditions or like sweatshops or anything like that, and putting it into just like a corporate middle management role. It's the modern day 1910s industrial factory is now just the corporate world.
And that the work is similar to standing all day working a vat of ether at the mill to what they're doing in the severed floor. Mysterious and important work that you'll never know why it's important, but it's like something you don't understand, all done for the benefit of a corporation. So yeah, your point about how corporate America, the methods and the technology changes, but the core function of it doesn't. It's exploitation, destroying communities, destroying individuals, corrupting your soul to the point of you don't even know who you are. With Cobell, she's addicted to this drug that she's taking this drug that she used to use as a child, and it's the only moment where she's able to relax and really just feel like a normal person other than a soldier or someone who's trapped inside of a cult. And the point about child labor, when they talk about in season 1, the innies were like children. Now they're becoming teenagers going through adolescence. It's almost like you can call that labor child labor too, because of how naive and ignorant they are about the world, but they know that they have to work. That the work is important, mysterious, and you have no choice but to do it. And that not remembering when you go home, it's similar to numbing yourself with a drug, whether it's ether or the severance procedure. And does this all go back to one man, Keir Egan, taking ether, hallucinating that he has a twin brother, names it after what ether is called, and although the technology, the procedure wasn't ready, it's that concept of being able to split yourself into two people or multiple people so that you don't feel certain things, and how that idea could be appealing to people caught in the doldrums of corporate America. So yeah, it's overall, it's the metaphors are, I don't know, for some people they're not very obvious, because I see some takeaways and they're like, this show is clearly about Scientology. It's just like, well, maybe it's about the idea that corporate America is treated like a religion, and that religions sometimes can be cultish. Yeah,
but unlimited PTO probably. That's probably nice.
Good dental. I mean, Mrs. Casey, like we said, she got the chompers. Yeah, but it's an episode that I think, it's similar to Drunken Hot Girls. You're listening to the album Stronger, Good Life, Barry Bonds, and then all of a sudden Drunken Hot Girls comes on. You're like, what the hell? This doesn't sound like the rest of the album. I don't like this. And I wouldn't even go as far to say I don't like this episode. I did like it. I think it was just, it's like we were so high up, and then they lost a little altitude, little turbulence. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll put on my seatbelt. No, I have to pee, but I'll hold it. Oh, nice. The guy next to me is throwing up. Oh, I could smell it. Fuck. Is that Homelander?
Keep going.
Snakes? Well, at least Uncle Sam's here. He's going to save us. Oh, wait, no, I'm in the Avengers.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're doing this again.
It's fun.
Yeah. What is that called again? There's a name for it, right?
It's word association.
Word association, right.
Yeah.
That's fun being a human. Take abstract concepts and give them meaning, give them names. All right, guys, I think that's where we're going to leave it for this week. Season 2 of Severance, Episode 8, Sweet Vitriol. Still really excited for the last two, especially Episode 10, Cold Harbor. Feels like that episode has the potential to be an all-timer. So, still really excited for that. Aaron, thank you for joining me, as always.
No problem.
What are you doing this beautiful weekend?
I don't know. I'm kind of we're in like the weather whiplash where it was very nice yesterday and it's very cold today. Like I've been FDRing it this whole review.
You got the fire. You got the fire going.
Chair bound with a blanket on my lap.
Nice fireside chat. We don't get those anymore. Aaron addressing the nation.
Yeah, I guess this episode was kind of boring, huh?
Yeah. I was like trying to stretch it out because we've got an ad on it, and I'm like,
tell you what, those folks need Factor. They had Factor at the Lumen offices.
Oh, they would never leave. Be like, fuck the Audis.
Yeah, eating good
in the Lumen neighborhood.